reply to Philip DeFranco talking about Tony. Tony Nicholson, who basically today died from a combination of pneumonia and non-eating due to the, I suppose, like the heartbreak and stress of losing his battle to have the right for assisted suicide. Tony is a guy who has locked-in syndrome, which basically means that although his brain is completely active, his muscles and everything to do with his muscles do not work, so he cannot move at all. He doesn't have total, which is when the eyeballs actually can't move as well. He can move his eyeballs and thus able to communicate via sort of very intelligent screens and via his eyeball tracking, but I mean, if you sit and just think about it, it's not a life in any way, shape, or form. It's not a life for him, and it can't be a life for his loved ones around him. How if that was my husband, my son, my daughter, and I could see them in constant pain and constant anguish. That doesn't make me happy. I wouldn't want to say, well, no, let's keep them alive because, well, I just want them here. They would want this as well for them. And basically, the high courts in the UK decided that no, and it's not. I don't think it's necessarily a case that they didn't agree with it. I believe that it was a case that they got scared. It was too scary to make that decision because basically, if they open that can of worms and they kind of say yes, you can, that's it, the law would have to change, and it's such a major law to change that they're scared and they want politicians to make that law, which they are never going to do because they want to say boo to a goose. So basically, it's never going to change. I mean, obviously, there's countries that do have assisted suicide. Off the top of my head, I know Switzerland do. It works very well. They don't have a higher rate of suicide due to it. It's the same as everybody else. But they don't find it. More people kind of jump ship. But what gets me the most about this, and the thing that I wanted to talk about here today, is the fact that person X commits suicide. Now, that person doesn't get arrested or jailed because that person has died. What's the difference? He just needs someone to help him. It's exactly the same. There is no difference. The end result is the same, that person wants to die. He just physically can't actually do it himself. Well, actually, that's a load of balls, because he has, hasn't he? That basically he stopped eating, contracted pneumonia, and basically hasn't fixed himself, knowing that this is the way he'd have to die. So he had to die in extreme pain and a long-winded death just because some stupid many wigs were too scared to make the decision. And I just don't understand how we can be so backwards in some respects. And suicide can be accepted and seen as an okay way to end your life. But, assisted suicide can't be. And people, Philip made a good point of saying, well, what about, depression? Would depression rates go up? And yeah, you just have stipulations to make sure that wasn't going to happen. Yes, okay, you may have more depression, but if you think about it, assisted suicide is always generally going to be done by a family member or a very close friend. Yeah, it's not going to be just some random person off the street. Now, if you're close, say your husband has depression, you would not want to kill your husband because they had depression. You would want to work with him to solve depression, because depression is a completely, I haven't had it myself, a completely curable disease, a curable problem. Whereas if this person is basically just on a path to death anyway, you don't want to see that. So them saying, well, there's going to be more deaths due to it. Well, no, because I wouldn't kill someone because they had depression. But I would, say yes to the doctor. Yes, please, turn off the life machines or do this or do that because this person has died. And Tony had. He was dead inside, and outside he was dead. Inside he wasn't. But I'm sure, well, as we all know, that's what he wanted to be. So, and freedom of speech is a big thing, and freedom to be able to do what you want to your own body is also a big thing. And yeah, I think it was an absolute shambles that the courts wimped out on a decision, because I bet you 95% of people in their party would agree that he should have had the right to die. Okay.